Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to decode the mind and trace a really fascinating evolutionary journey. Basically, we're moving away from the absolute exhaustion of our modern hustle culture, and we're diving deep into what psychology reveals as the ultimate psychological superpower, which is quietness. So if you're tired of the constant noise, you are absolutely in the right place.
Have you ever encountered someone who's just so calm, so centered, and completely unbothered that it honestly feels a little bit scary? Like, they aren't loud at all, they don't try to prove themselves to anyone, and they definitely don't chase your approval. You know, in a world utterly addicted to noise, constant attention, and digital applause, finding someone who just doesn't play that game feels incredibly intimidating. Yet, as we'll see today, this level of stillness represents a stage of mental evolution that most people will never actually reach.
And there's this quote that really hits the nail on the head. Real growth isn't about getting what you want. It's about no longer needing it to feel whole. You know you are reaching this elite level of mental maturity when you start valuing silence over applause and objective truth over whatever happens to be trending digitally today. It's this profound shift from desperately seeking external rewards to finding absolute wholeness within yourself.
All right, so let's dive into sign number 1, the illusion of constant noise and escaping the validation trap.
Think about how most of us live right now. Honestly, our brains are conditioned almost exactly like a slot machine. People are constantly pulling the lever, right? Just checking for likes, followers, and those tiny fleeting hits of dopamine. But mature individuals, they transition to intrinsic motivation. They completely break free from relying on the outside world to tell them they're okay. Instead, they shift to an internal locus of control. They do things because they have deep, personal meaning, not because they need the crowd to shout, "Good job."
When you mature, you hit what psychologists actually call hedonic adaptation. So, what does this all mean? Well, it's basically the psychological threshold where those external rewards simply stop registering as meaningful. It's that profound, real-world realization that a glowing rectangle in your hand cannot tell you that you matter. Your worth becomes entirely non-negotiable, simply because those tiny digital rewards just don't do it for you anymore. Moving right along to number 2, the biology of emotional gravity. So here's how this builds biologically. First, you project this stable, centered energy. Instantly, and this is wild, the mirror neurons in the brains of the people around you pick up on this and activate. As a result, their nervous systems literally sync with your calm. So this isn't just about you being a nice, calming presence. It is a subconscious biological chain reaction. People begin to feel safe and grounded in your presence, and they unknowingly start to orbit your stable energy without even understanding why.
Because at the end of the day, this isn't charm, it's biology. You master this quiet power, and crazy enough, you actually become highly influential simply by needing to be noticed less. The less you demand attention, the more people naturally gravitate towards your stability.
All right, number 3, detachment without the drama.
True freedom looks entirely different than what we're used to seeing on our feeds. Instead of leaving a toxic job or a bad relationship with loud anger, drama, or this desperate need to explain your side of the story to everyone, a mentally mature person walks away with complete detachment and zero resentment. You just realize it no longer serves your growth. You accept that your silence is vastly louder than any dramatic story post. Ultimately, you are just reallocating your precious cognitive bandwidth toward things that actually matter. You trade the fake digital highlight reel for real life. And honestly, you become perfectly fine with being completely misunderstood by those who are still caught up in performing for the crowd.
Which brings us to number 4, mastering the cognitive pause.
In the world of psychology, this is known as cognitive inhibition. It's basically the executive ability to halt an automatic, knee-jerk emotional reaction, like, wanting to yell at someone who cuts you off in traffic, or firing back at a passive-aggressive email, and consciously choosing your response instead. While everyone else out there is reacting instantly to insults, stress, or bad news, you leverage cognitive inhibition to create a vital mental gap. You prove that real intelligence is controlled, it's not loud.
It really comes down to reacting versus responding. Reacting is instant and automatic. It's just an emotional reflex to stress. Responding, however, requires creating a mental gap to exercise executive control. This contrast shows exactly why your calm isn't just emotional distance or apathy. It's supreme cognitive strength. It makes you incredibly hard to manipulate or predict because you entirely refuse to rush into defending your ego.
So, how does this actually play out in real time? Well, when confronted with a stressful situation, the very first thing you do is simply take a deliberate breath to observe.
Then, instead of instantly lashing out, you take the time to really deeply analyze the situation and the motives behind it.
And only then, after you've created that gap of executive control, do you decide on your deliberate response. Observe, analyze, decide. That right there is the architecture of quiet power in action.
And finally, we have number 5, embracing mystery and quiet power.
We live in a world that is heavily addicted to oversharing literally every waking moment. But you start valuing mystery over constant exposure. You reach a state of automaticity, meaning your healthy habits just run on autopilot without needing a dopamine rush or a digital pat on the back from strangers. You fully embrace digital minimalism. You feel absolutely no need to market your looks, your daily wins, or your morning habits just to feel successful. You choose instead to be grounded, focusing on internal alignment, even if it means you are completely underestimated by the outside world.
Always remember this: peace thrives in privacy. By intentionally protecting your mystery, you are actively protecting your peace of mind. You are cementing quietness not as a weakness, but as the absolute ultimate psychological superpower in a very noisy world. You'd much rather be grounded, for sure, than overexposed and exhausted.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. What will you choose moving forward? Depth or display? Are you ready to keep turning these psychological principles into your own personal power? If this resonated with you today, maybe it's time to prioritize meaning over metrics. Step out of the noise and start building your own architecture of quiet power. Keep decoding the mind, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.